Okay, so we're recording. So first Q&A session. You guys are almost officially 2 weeks in. Who's got... I love the faces I'm getting right now. Who wants to start with their first question? Who wants to go first?
Can I first just apologize that my video is not on? I'm
course.
kind of already in my PJs. So
that is absolutely fine.
It was either that or having to last minute bail because it's raining and it's cold and I really don't want to get dressed.
Don't
so
bail.
I just said I'm going to do it, but without the video.
Yeah, don't bail. That's absolutely fine. If you do want to turn your video on, we don't mind. It's completely up to you. It really doesn't faze any of us, but it's completely up to you. Okay, questions. Who's got a question? Who wants to go first?
Can I just ask to clarify before people get too deep? Yes. I'm obviously busy putting together my influencer list and all of that jazz. Amazing. And I keep getting confused between the term influencer and the term competitor. Obviously, when you kind of look at it, they're two very separate things, but at the same time, they're kind of similar, the way that we're looking at that. Is that correct that I'm thinking that?
Yes, okay. Absolutely. Okay, so one of the concepts that you guys will learn as you go through this program is there is no such thing as a competitor in the world. And it's really, really important to get your head around that, because the moment that we say that people are our competitors, it means that we have to compete for a piece of the puzzle. And that's not the case, because there are literally thousands, if not more, people who do exactly what I do, but yet all of you are sitting in a room with me. And that's because I am the person that spoke to you through all of my marketing, through all of my niching. And this is what you've got to think about, is some of my influencers, the people I look at, are literally doing the exact same thing as me. They're offering almost the exact same course, but they're doing it in their own way. And that's what you've got to think about when you're looking at influencers and you're looking at, people you want to look up to in your industry and people you want to strive to get on the same playing field as, if we want to call it that. That's what you've got to think about. It's actually there are no more competitors. And even somebody in your area who does exactly the same thing and, works with the exact same people is still not going to be a competitor, because your story will be different to theirs. Your background, your journey, all of those things will be different, and people will choose you because of you. And that's why the uniqueness is really, really important to kind of nail down, because figuring out that uniqueness is what will set you apart. So Liz, you said that you're still struggling to find people who are doing what you're doing. And I need to know what everyone else looks for. Okay, talk to me about that, Liz.
Okay, so my question is, because I have a real issue, I'm not a coach. Okay. I'm more of a mentor. I'm more of a trainer and a facilitator of. But when I try and look around for people who are doing, they all call themselves coaches, or they seem to call themselves coaches, executive coaches, because I'm after professional women.
Yeah.
Or they're coaches to entrepreneurs. I'm not a coach to an entrepreneur per se. And I really find it difficult. And I think it's because I'm in the position I'm in, I'm sort of following who I need, or I'm trying to research who I'm looking for, and therefore I'm missing what other people would look for. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. If you go back to the kind of first thing that you were saying, like you're not a coach, what about that word don't you identify with?
I suppose I see coaches as almost cheerleaders. then they're not necessary. Coaches don't necessarily give you, and I think this is the big thing for me, which is why I'm enjoying this, because I feel like I've got detail and I've got clarity and I'm getting answers, rather than someone going, well, how does that work for you? I don't fucking answer. Don't give me another fucking question. Excuse me, sorry everybody. Don't give me a question to answer my question. It drives me wild. Mm-hmm. I get where it's sort of like explore that a bit more, but that's what I just don't see myself as that.
Okay.
I will explore something with somebody.
Yeah.
But I don't mind giving advice. Coaches aren't supposed to give not personal advice, but,
direct advice.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the concept of coaching, if you look at a core coach, like somebody who's an actual trained coach, versus what people call coaches nowadays, I think are two very different things.
Yeah.
And sometimes people use the word coach just because it aligns with what their audience is expecting to find. So actually, sometimes you might call yourself a coach. Like technically, when people ask me what I do, I say that I'm a business coach. Mm. But I give you guys direct advice. I tell you guys what to do.
Yeah.
And actually, I guess it's just about defining that word in your business. And if that is the word that you feel your audience would attract to, then potentially that is the word that you need to use. But you need to define it for yourself as to what fits in that remit for you. Because, like, for instance, I call this a mentorship program because I am going to be giving you advice. But I describe myself as a coach because people see mentors as more of an unpaid sort of area.
Right.
So that's kind of the thing to look at. But I mean, if you think about people who are working in that like limiting beliefs arena, who are the people that are working in that arena that are doing that kind of work?
Well, I suppose I haven't looked for them. This is exactly what I'm trying to say. I've not looked for. I don't know how they would describe themselves to do that. To go off and have a look.
Yeah. And I think what you need to start to do is think about, if you go into Google and just start Googling things like, limiting belief, you can try mentor, coach, you can do phrases. So like someone to help me get over a limiting belief, for instance. And what you'll start to find is that things will start to come up and people will start to come up, and you'll start to then get a feel for the people that kind of work in that arena.
Yeah, you see, I mean, I've done it for sort of personal development, self coaching, all of those types of things, and you get lots and lots of websites. But how do you know, I suppose, who to really take notice of?
So this is the thing that is really, really key. It's whoever stands out to you.
Okay.
So like for me, for instance, if I think about the arena that I'm in, there's a lot of people in that arena. But actually the people that stand out to me time and time again are people like Marie Forleo, Gabby Bernstein. Like, they talk the language that I like listening to their books, listening to their videos, I align with what they're saying.
Okay, so this isn't local. Okay, that's where I think I was probably getting lost. I was looking, I suppose, going back to, I'm going to have to move my text box because I can't remember. Rebecca, sorry, Rebecca. I've got the text box over you. It's that competition and influencer, isn't it?
Yeah. And the thing is that once you start, it's really strange. Once you start to like put your flag in the ground and say like, this is what I do, these are my packages, you start going out into the world.
Yeah.
these people will start to find you as well. So like naturally you'll just sort of gravitate around people doing similar things. But actually when you start, it's just about going out and looking at, you know, who else is offering stuff in this remit.
Yeah.
And I mean, for you, it could be, if you want to go with personal development and like self-limiting beliefs, it could be someone like Tony Robbins. Yeah. And actually, but I'm talking, you know, that scale. Mm. And you could be looking at that and going, okay, those are the elements that I want to model, those things. Now, you could, I mean, there are some people who work in this arena that I look at and I think, I don't want to do what they do. Like, even though they do the same technical skills that I do, I don't do the same things they do in the way that they deliver it. But actually that is just as valuable as finding what you do want to do.
I'm happy to deliver it how he delivers it. I just repelled by him.
But actually that's a brilliant thing, because every time you look at an influencer, like, what are the elements, and this is, you can go away and think about this, like, what are the elements of what Tony Robbins does that you wish you could do? And what are the things that he does that actually you never want to be your brand?
Yes.
And that's what's really, really kind of critical, because like I've got a lot of people like Russell Brunson, Tony Robbins, Stu from The Tribe. Like, I absolutely love so much of what they do. And I love like the charity elements of their businesses and the community elements of their businesses. But there are elements of their businesses that I don't like.
Okay.
And that helps me shape what I want my business to look like going forward. So just as much as you're looking at all the amazing things that you love about what people are doing, you get to also look at the stuff that they're doing and go, actually, that's not for me.
Okay.
And that's a beautiful way of not having to make the mistakes yourself.
Okay, fab. All right. Thank you.
Perfect. Who wants to go next?
I have a question that... Yes. Oh, sorry, Suzanne, were you about to go? I have a question that I think I probably need the community as well as your input, Jackie. So
absolutely.
I've called myself Living Better because that originally was a blog that I started, and it's kind of evolved from that, the work that I'm doing. And when I've done my looking at my values, one of my top values is being authentically myself. Mm-hmm. And I kind of feel like having a business name isn't authentically me, and also that maybe it is like a barrier between, like, people know me by my name, and I'm kind of thinking, well, should I just be ZoeCarroll.com? I own the domain name anyway.
Look at Stacey.
Yeah, okay. And the other thing is, I mean, I don't know if we're going to be talking business structure and stuff, but I didn't really know where to go with that, because at the moment I'm a sole trader, but I didn't know if I'd be taken more seriously or whether it would make a difference if I then became Zoe Carroll as a limited company, or even if you can, like, it's like, where do I go with that? So that was kind of before I do anything more, because if I'm going to change all this social media stuff that I've been searching for a community, now's the time to change it if I'm just going to be Zoe Carroll and not Living Better. So I was like, oh my God, I don't want to build a community that don't know my name. So
it's really, really interesting, actually, because some of the videos that I'm doing for next week, I've spoken about that in the Instagram thing. Like, if your Instagram is not your name, you need to have your name on your Instagram so people can make the link. But I personally would say that if your brand is you and you want to be authentic to that, absolutely go with your name. If you want to do a catchphrase that tells people what you do, that's absolutely fine as well. So you could keep the Living Better, because people know that locally. So you could keep that if you wanted to. I think, definitely you need to make sure that you're comfortable with what you're moving forward with as you start to build the kind of social media elements, and you start to sort of pull that all together. But Stacey was a massive yes. Rebecca was a yes.
I want to jump in when I can. I'm like itching here.
Jump in now.
So So it's strange because I actually worked, or I'm busy working with a very, very small company managing their social media sites. And he kind of had the same, challenge in his business. So he's a very small IT, repair company. He goes and helps you set up your software and that sort of thing. But because he has a separate business name, but he also represents himself. He is his own business. And we kind of came down to the point that when people think of him, they think of his business, but when people think of his business, they think of him. And he is his business. So people were kind of connecting more with him as the business than the business as him. I know that sounds very tongue twisty. But the relationships that he was or is currently building is based because of who he is as a person. So we also tossed up kind of the same thing, and eventually, it was determined that we're going to stick with this particular person, him as his brand space, and it seems to have worked better. And it's also, strange enough, becoming more of a trend, particularly in Cape Town. People are using their names and themselves as their brand ambassador, than not being able to, connect with their audience just through a business name. So it is becoming more and more popular. And I think it's also just a nice connection, particularly if you are building a very personal relationship with your clients. It's also a very nice connection. Those are just my thoughts.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I like that.
And some of this has been driven by that whole, when we're looking for your influencers, they're all themselves. Gabby Bernstein, Tony Robbins, them, you don't, and like Rich Sharma, all these people, you're like, yeah, okay.
An interesting one, isn't it? Okay, Stacey, jump in.
No, I was just going to say to Zoe that it boils down to trust, and it's the trust in the relationship. So you're essentially going to be asking somebody to part with cash to get you. Now, they don't want your business. They're not going to make that decision on how fancy your branding is or how colourful your whatever it is. They're going to make that decision on whether they like you and trust you, because that's why you made the decision to work with Jackie. Essentially, you couldn't care less whether she was green branding or purple branding. You really couldn't care less whether she sent you 20 emails or 2. What you actually really wanted was to work with Jackie because you trusted her. And I'm a massive fan. No brainer for me. Has to be your name because people work with you. And for me, that's just a no-brainer. I know Liz has got her hands across her mouth and she's going, oh my God, she's going to say the same to me. It's just that, for me, it boils down to trust. And again, when you're talking about spending money with somebody, it's the trust that gets you, in my personal opinion.
The thing that you've got to think about is my business is Clark Learning. So technically, my limited company is called Clark Learning Consultancy. If I want to invoice people from my business for separate work to what I'm doing here, I can do that. My husband invoices through my company because he's a director. And he literally doesn't do anything in the learning space at all. But, what you've got to think about, and I guess this might be a question you don't know the answer to right now, Zoe, but this is a kind of question I would have for you, is do you want your business to be a legacy that you can sell? Or do you want your business to just be something for you?
Yeah.
Now, you might not know the answer off by heart.
At the moment, it feels like it just be for me, because that's the thing I was looking at changing and it becoming like a membership thing and possibly, like some of the other people, obviously it's not just them behind their membership program, it carries on, doesn't it? Other people do the content now, they just go and tour around in their camper van or whatever.
And the thing is like, this is what you've got to think about, and what I always say, and what we will be doing at, looking at how big you want your business to be. Because when you build a brand solely around you, it can be a bit more tricky to then scale that because it is solely around you. Now, it's not to say that you can't scale it, because you can. you can get people like your virtual assistants, your graphics designers, you know, your content managers. You can get loads of people to support you, so you only have to do the top level, like, hey, I'm here stuff. But there's still sort of a limit to that, unless you want to change up the model and start doing, if you look at your value ladder, start doing more like group stuff and retreat stuff and large scale event stuff, which obviously if you're getting to that big is absolutely fine. And actually, if you look at my plan for my business, I've got year 1, this stuff that I'm doing now, year 2, less of this stuff and more things like live large scale events with thousands of people, you know, books, like loads of different types of things that'll come in the future. And that's what you've sort of got to think about, is actually what does that plan, you know, look like? And does that suit the branding that you're going to create? Because if you're thinking in 15 years' time you want to sell your business, creating a business in your name is not a good idea. Because then you physically won't be able to sell it, because you'll be leaving the business at the same time. If you're thinking that actually you want to earn, you know, 100, 200, 250K a year from now until you want to retire quite happily, absolutely fine. Crack on. That's brilliant. But it's down to what you want out of your business. Because for some people, they want to earn, you know, 100K a year, and that's it. They're happy with that. That's their, you know, that's what they want to do. For other people, they want to earn, you know, a couple million a year. And like, obviously it's a very different scale of work and effort, but if that's what you want, then you've got to really, really think about using your own name. And obviously it is possible, because Marie Forleo, Tony Robbins, they all do it. Of course they do. But their lifestyle is very different. They do loads of on the road in the camper van, you know, doing the live, like speaking gigs, that sort of stuff. So you've got to decide actually, what do you want your business to look like? And then how big do you actually want it to get? And if you're quite happy, I mean, a 6-figure business is still amazing, like that, you know, we won't squirm at that. But actually, if that is, you know, you're quite comfortable with that and you just want it to be for you and your family and, you know, that's what you want, then yeah, absolutely. Your name is going to be a much quicker way to build trust with people.
Okay. Thank you.
That probably gives you more questions to go away and think about. Liz, that looks like your brain is in like rotation.
Yeah, sorry, it was chuntering away there, because that's where the Guru company came in, because the idea always was, so I'm just going to pass that by, the idea was to grow this type of online trainings. People who came through my trainings would then join my company potentially.
Amazing.
And then deliver training under my umbrella. This is sort of not on my value ladder, because it sort of runs over here somewhere.
Yeah.
I have no idea where it is, but it's over here
somewhere over here.
So the only thing then sort of that I had in mind that I would probably potentially be doing would be the live gigs, would be the one-to-one, and would be retreats. And that's only because I want the wine and I want Tuscany. But so that would be the only bit of that business that I would want. The rest of it would be then dealt with by other people.
Yeah.
So I suppose when I get to that stage, that's when I will part company with the Guru Co. Or do I do it now?
So this is the question, is, you know, is that idea of the Guru Co being something that's coexistent a real dream of yours, or is it the other stuff that is the dream?
No, it's all part and parcel, because the stuff that I want to create is just so different from the background that I've come from, because I really solidly believe that mental health has gone the wrong bloody direction. So I'm absolutely adamant that if I can create this and really get it going, and that's the only reason why I had to leave the NHS, because You know, if you talk to me again, one of my clients today had a meltdown and said, "Oh, can you recommend me a medication?" I nearly went, "Oh, well, if I could have got hold of her, I think I could have punched her." Because this is like, you know, it's not the fucking answer. Come on, you know. So I'm really keen that you know, we start sort of delivering something and actually get people to really live.
So I would say that then the Guru Co is the brand.
Yeah.
And actually you still, as you do now, Liz at the Guru Co.
Yes.
So
yes,
you're building both of those. Yeah. And then if you do, like in the future, if you do decide to like write books or do guest speaking or anything like that, it'll always be Liz at the Guru Co.
Yeah, that's what I've done so far.
Yeah, and even if you do step out of the day-to-day running of the Guru Co, you would probably always still have a part in it.
I would, to keep the culture and the philosophy going, you know, that it's about,
So then it would become Liz, like CEO of the Guru Co.
Yeah, got you.
And it would change the concept. But like, and that's where you've just got to think about it. And that's a perfect example of actually, what do you want that to look like? So, you know, if you want it to be something that is a standalone legacy that you can almost sell without you being part of it, if you wanted to leave at some point, then you need it to be a brand and a strong brand. And like you're saying, you want to get additional people in. So actually you want to be able to sell the Guru Co team.
Yes.
And that is the same sort of reason why I've kept my business as a business.
Right.
Because I want to do the same thing. I want to have a blueprint to business success team.
Yes.
That do all of the different elements. And in 5 years' time, there's 6 of us running one of these programs, pretty much each doing a week. Because we're all experts in our field.
Yeah.
And that's my kind of big dream. But that's why I've got a separate brand, so that people aren't just buying into me. Obviously, right now they are, because it is only me.
Because I don't see how I can retire if I don't do that.
Well, we're making you millions soon, Liz. Don't you worry.
I'm ready, Danny. I'm ready. Old man's just been furloughed. I'm very ready.
ready. Oh, I love it.
Very ready.
Okay. Who's got a question? Suzanne, you said that you were stocking up some questions for me.
Well, Zoe kind of got in there first.
She did, didn't she?
I'm actually struggling with a lot of the same things as Zoe about, is it me? Is it a company? Is it an identity? So my business is about building happier work teams. And my target market is early years, smaller organisations. They don't have wellbeing champions and HR teams and employee assistance programs. Nobody's doing this stuff for them. They struggle with attraction, retention, absence, and all those sorts of things. So that's what I want to do. I've got connections. They know me by my name, Suzanne Green. But as I said, I also have my Facebook presence and all my social media. That's the main bit that I use. Probably I'm not big on social media. I can see Stacey's face going, "What? You're not big on social media?" You are kidding me.
We'll fix that, don't worry.
It's really emotional with me. I don't understand it. I need to unpick that at some point. But it's an emotional thing. It actually hurts me sometimes when I think about needing to post, having to create content. It's painful. And I need to understand that and unpick that a little bit more. That's a whole nother hour or 3. But anyway, I have my social media is in my maiden name, and it is at the moment linked to the business name that I set up last year, Lotus Learning Consultants. And it shouldn't be. I would much prefer to have my professional name, Suzanne Green, linked to my professional business profile stuff. So I'm going to have to do that. I've cogitated on it and sorted it out. I'm never going to be happy sharing lots of personal stuff, but I've got to find the stuff, identify the stuff that I am happy to share, tell my stories, and do it through that profile. That's what I've got to do, I think.
And the thing is as well, if you think about it, you're going, like, as much as you're going into a business, you're still trying to attract an individual to buy into your brand.
Mm-hmm.
So you do need to think about, you know, what are the challenges that they need to hear? What are the stories that they need to hear? And actually, you don't have to tell all of the stories. You don't have to, you know, there are certain elements of my life that I don't tell in my business marketing. I'll tell you guys once you're in my little community, I'm not telling you guys anything, that's fine. But actually for the general public, and I'm still testing the boundaries. I still go out and sort of tell a story and see how I feel while I'm doing it. And the beautiful thing about social media is you can just delete stuff. Like if you put something out there and then you think, nah, you could just delete it. Stacey's going, don't do that. You can. That is an option. And actually what I feel is like while you're busy learning, you'll get to the point where you'll know what your boundaries are. But while you're learning your boundaries, always rest assured in the fact that if you know, even if you do a live, as soon as it's finished being shot, if you don't like it, you can delete it. And that's like the beauty of social media, is you can actually get rid of stuff if it's really outside of your comfort zone. But the good thing is that you're starting to look at actually what are the connection points. And when you do your session with Stacey, is it next week, the week after? I don't even know what date it is anymore. You'll go into that in a bit more detail and look at actually what are the key reasons why you're sharing your stories and what you should share. But I think from the identity piece, are you going to stick with just you, or are you going to keep Lotus? What do you think?
Well, so that was a good question, because that made me think about, do I just stick with me? But actually, my plan is that at some point my daughter might come into the business. She's a psychology graduate. She's really interested in mental health, well-being, all the things that I'm interested in. Amazing. So she may well want to come into the business, especially if she wants something that's a bit more flexible. She's in teaching at the moment, but you know, she might decide to come in and do something a bit different. So I think I need a recognizable brand that is also potentially a little bit scalable, like you've been talking about. I have no idea. I mean, I have just done the tiniest bit of research when Liz was talking about I don't know these people, who are these people that do what I do that I might want to be interested in, and I just put in creating happy work teams, right? That's all I googled, and I found this company. They're American, clearly they're American, everything looks very American. It's called Happier at Work, but there's stuff on there that I think, ooh, this is really nice, this is good. There's stuff I don't like, as you said, there's stuff I don't like, but actually they're people that I'm gonna watch, you know, and I'm going to look at their social, I'm going to find out, I'm going to do a load of research. That was really good. And I want to stay within the education sector. This is what I've got to be really careful about creating a brand identity, because at the moment my very focused target is small early years settings. Mm-hmm. But what I have potentially goes anywhere. Mm-hmm. But I think I will always want to stay within education. So post-16 schools and things like that. My daughter and I both have that sort of background. It's where we feel most comfortable operating. So I think the brand I want to create and the name I want has got to go through education. It can't be splashy hands of paint because it's early years. Yeah. You know what I mean? It can't have that, because it won't go anywhere else, really. Yeah, so I've got to be a bit careful about that.
Yeah, and the thing is again, it's thinking about who in that organization do you want to link to your brand and buy your brand. It's not the parents of the kids.
No.
And actually, when you start doing the splashy hands and that's the audience that you're targeting. You're not targeting the principals or the admins or the owners, or, and that's what you've got to always think about, is actually who is your brand for. Just because it's about, kids or early education, it doesn't mean that is the whole brand image that you should create. So that's a really, really interesting kind of thing to keep in mind. But also thinking about, already you're thinking about actually what are the other areas that it can kind of scale into. I like that. And also thinking about, all of us have a product that can help anyone. But actually, if you go out to the market and try sell to anybody and everybody, you'll sell to nobody.
Mm.
But that doesn't mean that you can't build multiple revenue streams in the future. So you could find somebody who specializes in, I don't know, financial services that is in the world that you love, and they could come into your brand and they could become the brand ambassador for that group of people.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of having a sort of standalone brand that doesn't talk directly to the people you're talking to, but actually you use your content and your copy to do that for you instead.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting way, but I definitely think sticking with the brand name for you is the right thing to do.
But not that one, because I think it needs when I first got into this, I thought I was just going to be doing the old money for time model, where I was going back to my training facilitating roots. Yeah. And that's what I was going to do. You know, mental health first aid, leadership courses, you know, authentically, emotionally intelligent leadership courses, things like that. So that's what I was going to be doing, which is why it was learning consultants. And I thought I would have, you know, a few people that freelanced, and that was the general, you know, the general premise for the brand. But actually that's not what I'm going to be doing now. I'm going to be doing something quite different. Those will be add-ons. Mm-hmm. They will be things that potentially I do, you know, just to keep my hand in because I like doing them, or I'll contract them out if it's an appropriate thing that my clients want. But that's not the core of what I want to do. I want to go back to my basic, I mean, I've been all sorts of things. People describe me as all sorts of things. And I actually put on the first slide of my Unit 1 work, you know, am I a friend, a coach, a consultant, a partner? I don't know what people would call me. I think coach is probably closest, somewhere between coach and consultant. And I think if I am going to be looking to sell within the wider education sector, I think consultant may be the right word. I don't know. I've got to make a lot of decisions about all this sort of stuff, and I don't want to get, like Zoe just said, I don't want to get too far into my Unit 2 work and go follow loads of people as the wrong identity. And you know, go start posting stuff as the wrong identity.
It's actually really funny that you said that. I did a live on Facebook on Instagram earlier today, and I wrote a blog as well. And I think actually you guys need to hear this. It's better to fail and move forward than it is to get it right. Now, I know that sounds really scary. I know, look at all of you like, no, I know that sounds really scary. But actually, so this was a story that I shared today. And actually, I'd spoken to Stacey previously about sharing it. And I was a bit kind of, I don't really know if I want to do this. But I shared it, and I was really happy that I did. And basically, I shared some of my biggest failures in business. And when I got made redundant, that was my original point of starting my own business. So it wasn't like a thought through plan. I didn't have a blueprint. I didn't even have a business plan. I literally called my business Jackie Byrne. That's what I was at the time. I hadn't even gotten married yet. Like, literally had no future thought at all about anything. Just started working. Like, woohoo, let's see what happens. Then got into a bunch of contracts, created this business image that I ended up absolutely hating. It wasn't what I wanted to do. It wasn't the work I wanted to do. I literally took the model I was doing at work and just started doing it for myself. But I wasn't happy at work. I don't know why I thought that would be a good idea, but I did it anyway, as you do. And it took me almost 2 years to actually realize that wasn't what I wanted to do, like to realize how unhappy I was. And I then decided, okay, obviously I'm working with the wrong people. I want to do something completely different. So I thought, okay, let's go global. Global will be good. I love traveling. Like, this is going to be amazing. Oh my gosh, traveling for work. What a pain. I literally, like 6 months in, I decided that I didn't like that either. And I signed into these massive contracts. But actually, what it did is every step of the way, I learned something more about myself. I learned something more about the business I wanted to have. And I mean, ideally, I want to do that for you guys in not as long a period. I want to get you there much quicker. But actually, even if halfway through this program, you suddenly go, screw it, this is not what I want, that's absolutely fine. And actually, Stacey, can we tell your story? I want Stacey to tell you.
Which one would that be?
You've got so many. The 3 hour, the 30-minute call that became a 3-hour call a couple of days ago. Listen to this.
Yeah,
by
all means. For the last 12, I invested in a business coach, and for the last 12 weeks or so, I have been following that program and doing that stuff and trying to shoehorn my business into that program, which was build a funnel, sell a product, make money. Build a funnel, sell a product, make money. And I've got products, of course I have. So I created this shiny course, didn't sell any of them. I created sort of a training masterclass thing and got crickets. I think there's 4 ladies joining us on Saturday for the class. And I was banging my head against a brick wall. And it's just like, I know I'm bloody good at what I do. And I love talking to people and I love working one-on-one. So Jackie and I literally sat on Friday and I chewed her ear off, basically. And I just went through and said, why is this not working? And I banged my fist on the desk and I said that, look, I've worked corporately for years. I can command big money. If I go to a corporate client, I can work for them for big money, but it's not what I want to do. So she kind of took me through the process of, okay, strip all of that away. What do you actually want? And I was like, I want my husband not to have to work. That's basically where I'm at with this whole process, in that my husband's an accountant and he gets incredibly stressed, and we run a croft with sheep, and so he's doing croft life, business life, stressed out of his box. And so I said to Jackie, I just need 120k so that I can show him that actually I can support us all and we can still have the great lifestyle that we're used to, and we can still have the holidays and all the kind of luxuries that we have been used to with 2 salaries. And do you know what? It was as if somebody dropped a bomb on top of me, and it was like, that's all I want. I don't have to go and do this hustle thing. So then we kind of we took it from that goal, and then we broke it down. Okay, so if that's what you want, how much do you have to work, and how much are you going to charge for your services? And it was a case of, okay, I don't want to do this hustle. I don't want to teach hundreds of people. I don't want thousands of folk to buy my thing. I actually want to work with 10 or 12 people who want me in their back pocket to teach them and mentor them how to do communications for their business on a one-to-one basis, getting the best of my passion but for their business. And I've created a bespoke mentorship package, which is a 6-month premium package. It costs a fortune, but you know what, it's bloody worth it. And at the end of the 6 months, you will have worked with me hand in hand, and you will be well on your way to being able to do this yourself without the kind of support. That's what I'm going to do. And literally, you'll be able to have a phone call with me to have a chat to see whether we're a good fit, which, by the way, you'd have to pay for because it's my time. I'm not giving it away for free. And then you decide you're either in or you're out. And that's it. And if you're out, that's absolutely fine, because not everybody's going to be in. Not everybody's a good fit for me. And it was liberating. It was totally liberating to go right back to that and go, that's actually all I want to do. I just want to help people. And the way I help people best is this one-on-one thing. And you'll see when I do my training next week, I talk with these all the time, but I love just talking to people. And it's my passion. So one thing I've missed dreadfully about lockdown is not having people, lots of people. I love my husband dearly, but sick to death of him now. But I want to work with people on a one-on-one basis. And when I figured that out, when the penny dropped, when Jackie just took me through that process, it was like, okay, what have I been doing for the last 12 weeks? So, sorry, I can talk. I could carry on, but I won't. But the ladies get the drift. They understand where I'm coming from now.
Jackie, I've got one really quick question just before I shut up.
You have to shut up?
If, well, there's others to talk. If I don't really know, because I don't know much about social media, how I find out where my tribe, my group, my target audience, where they are on social. I don't know, because I don't inhabit social media, so I wouldn't even know where they are. How do I find that out easily?
So we're going to go into this in more depth next week.
Okay.
And explore that a bit more. But the key thing is to go onto said platforms, whichever ones they are, and look
for them
in the nicest possible way, which sounds, easier sometimes said than done. But actually what you want to do is you want to go and have a look at, what is it? So once you've identified that key person that you want to find, where do they hang out? Now, in all honesty, pretty much everyone hangs out on Facebook, unless they are a real young generation. Then you're not going to probably find them on Facebook. But there is a very vast majority of people are on Facebook in some degree. But if you're going for like seasoned professionals, you might be better off on LinkedIn. So it's just about sort of looking at that. And actually, it's also about testing it.
Okay.
So I've been really, really surprised, because I thought that I would find most of my people on Facebook. And actually, I've had a much better uptake on Instagram than I have on Facebook. So it's just about going and sort of testing the water a little bit. And actually, next week, when we start to build content, what you'll do is you'll test that content on all of the platforms that you want to use, and then figure out where you're getting the best traction to go to kind of move forward. Liz?
Do you think, and this is for Suzanne, because I'm used to Facebook. That's where I started and made all my errors and all the rest of it. That's where I've been building. No, seriously, because of my background, I didn't go on any social media, literally, until I started building this 3 years ago. But I think Facebook is really loud and really noisy and quite cluttered. When you go on to Instagram, and I don't understand Instagram yet, I am going to understand Instagram, but again, I'm very much like you. I don't know where my people hang out as such, because I can't, although I've gone for their hobbies and things, so I've tried to dot around and join groups that, that sort of thing. So I've gone for sort of like their characteristics, where they might think it's really interesting. So sort of something to do with, I don't know, maybe walking and equestrian and, those sorts of things, where they might just go for that chill out, that escapism, to, especially when we're looking at mindset and mental health and beliefs and, those sorts of things. It's like, where will they go and have a chat? So that's where I've been looking. But Instagram, to me, I think is quicker because it is visual. Whereas I think Facebook's visual, noise, and written, isn't it? So I think that's more, to me, that's how I look at it as somebody who gets bored very quickly by reading. I think that's quite loud. There's an awful lot to read, there's a lot to listen to, lots to look at, and it just never stops. Whereas Instagram, you can go on, you can search by hashtags. So all those things where it's sort of like mental health, hashtag anxiety, hashtag overwhelm, hashtag work-related stress, and they'll all just go up at you. And so you'll be able to search really easily on there. And I think a lot of professionals are on there.
I think it's also really important to kind of think of what message you're wanting to put out there. Because different platforms focus on different messages. So, for example, if your audience, that your audience is more of a home person, they're the kind of people that, they're going to jump onto Facebook, jump onto a group and ask their neighborhood, what is the best recommendation for a wedding planner, or who's got the best, recommendation for a counselor. That's where you would put that information. Information on sharing local, kind of, on who you are. And then if you're wanting to look at Instagram is more focused on, like you said, you know, the visual, where people are looking for inspiration. So they're wanting to find, you know, something interesting. They want to learn something interesting or have some sort of inspiration that they can kind of get from your message. So it's all kind of varies on who your audience is and what message you're trying to get across to which platform you must use.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the content, in the videos for next week, on like the Facebook one, I talk a lot about Facebook groups. And actually, if you're going to try and find people on Facebook, groups is the best way to go about it. You join groups, you find good groups, and you show up regularly and give input and add value, and, you know, people get to know your name. And what I would suggest, and this is jumping into next week's content, but as you guys are starting to explore all of these different platforms, start thinking about what are the things that stop you from scrolling through. So on like LinkedIn, for instance, most people stop scrolling because they see a name they recognize. So actually on LinkedIn, you need to show up quite regularly, because if your name shows up regularly, people are more likely to stop scrolling. And actually LinkedIn is an untapped market because most people contribute and consume in comments rather than actually posting their own content. So posting your own content on LinkedIn is a really easy way to get seen, and you can trend on LinkedIn really easily. Whereas trending on things like Instagram and Facebook are way harder. But we'll worry about all of that next week. Don't worry. I'll give you more next week. Let's not confuse it too much. But it is just really important that, you know, you'll continue to grow your social media presence, and you'll continue to learn about people as you go on this journey. I was already like almost 6 months in before I found Gabby Bernstein. And I absolutely adore her now, but I didn't even know she existed.
What I found as well, for Suzanne, was when I started following those influencers on Instagram, loads of people just started following me.
Yeah.
I don't know which influencer they found me through, but it's the only thing I've done in like months on there. So they've obviously found me when I've liked the influencers. So I went through with my list. I liked them all on Instagram, on Facebook. I've signed up for everything. Jesus. But people started liking me just because I'd liked who they were inspired by. So I think that I'm going to continue to add to that list and keep, especially on Instagram, with that, because I've not really used Instagram a lot up to now.
And what you'll
That's really helpful, thank you.
Yeah, what you'll start to find is that if you follow a particular influencer, other people who are very similar to that person will start to advertise to you. So you'll suddenly be following Gabby Bernstein, and then suddenly you'll start seeing, you know, Marie Forleo stuff popping up. You might have never heard of her, but you'll constantly see her stuff because she knows that her and Gabby Bernstein do something very similar, so they advertise to each other's audiences. And actually that is the beauty of this, is that the more that you start to actually follow these people on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you're at, the more that you'll naturally find these people as well, because they will find you. That's the beauty of all of these social media platforms. I mean, Facebook itself holds over 2,000 individual characteristic data about each individual person that's on the platform. So they know whether you're somebody who will read a post, like a long copy post. They know if you're somebody who'll watch a video. They know whether you'll watch 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds before you turn off. They know whether you'll go down a wormhole of 1 million videos and what the average amount is before you pull yourself back out. Like, they know all of that stuff. So they know exactly who to put in front of you. But what you have to do is make sure that the things you're watching on Facebook link in to the people you want to see. Because normally what we do, and I am so guilty of this, I go on Facebook and I just watch 1 million people baking 1 million cakes. And then all I see is people making cakes. And it has nothing to do with anything that's going to add value for me. but it is so therapeutic. It's unbelievable.
I keep getting sidetracked till very late at night, which I shouldn't do because I'm an early morning person, on TikTok. I can't get off the bloody thing anymore. I thought it was horrific before, but now it's just like, oh, that's so cool. Yeah. I'm sending them to my daughters. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Do a little dance on TikTok for us, Liz.
I have started my own little thing, so I've just got to find them. I keep sending them to my daughter. She's so theatrical. She does the voiceover ones, like, why would you kiss a man if he was in a cage? It has to be organic or something like that. And she's brilliant at it. So I think, well, I might have a go.
Well, good on you for, branching into TikTok. I still haven't even braved that yet.
Well,
you have to look. It's amazing.
I will tell you guys this now. So I have downloaded TikTok, and I am attending a free learning session about how to use it to grow your business.
And
once I do that, I'll make you guys a little bonus video on how to do it. I don't know whether I'm gonna jump into the world of TikTok right now, but I am gonna learn about it because it is new and it is only fair that I know what's going on with it. So that is on the cards.
I think I started it about six months ago, something like that. But I've just got more and more hooked since I sort of realised that it isn't all just kids on there, and there's some really funny stuff on there. Then it's really worth it.
Well, I do think that TikTok did put out a statistic the other day I was reading that their audience population, I think like 6-7 months ago, their audience population was in like an average age of like 16. And now their average age is at like 32.
I know. It has got older.
Yeah, because the whole world has suddenly jumped on TikTok. Yeah. So all of the kids that were on there before are going to be very annoyed. And they're going to be looking for the next platform to move away from all of us. But that's fine. We're allowed. It's all good. Okay. Janie, yes, I was just going to come to you. You haven't spoken to me yet. How you doing?
All right. Just been busy. Whilst I don't know if it was meant to be specifically about social media, because I missed the start and then my computer died halfway through. Well, it's actually about social media. So the question I had is, if you've got multiple, so I'm going to have multiple revenue streams, but under the same umbrella, but they're going to be speaking to different audiences. So for those that don't know, I've got a deli that I'm now having to do deliveries for during the corona outbreak. But my long-term goal was always to do hampers. Jackie inspired me to look into doing subscription boxes. And I suffer from perfection paralysis, and I've wanted to do hampers for 15 months. This was actually just meant to be a hamper business. It wasn't even meant to be bricks and mortar. But because I needed a building that was a business premises where I could put all my biscuits and chutneys and everything else, I just decided, well, all I need is a coffee machine and I've got a cafe. So that's how that happened. And so I've not really focused on the hampers because I've spent the last 15 months thinking I need to have every single stockist that I want in my hampers, and I need to have all those products, and I need to have like the professional photos, and it needs to be absolutely perfect before I can launch any of it. And what that's meant is I've just not done any of it. So during all of this, we've started doing hampers, and we've had such an amazing response. But at the moment, we're only delivering them locally. And as I said, I think I commented on a post saying that we're going national this week. So we've put together a hamper that is filled with just ambient products, rather than a lot of the stuff that we're delivering at the moment has got fresh, chilled products. So I now need to stop looking at a 3-mile radius around my little tiny baby that I'm comfortable in, and go national, which is really scary. And I know I can just sort of like put out sponsored ads and like look at like the whole
set it to like nationwide. And I know in the past when I've forgotten to like localize my my area, we've picked up people commenting from like hundreds of miles away. So I know it'll be seen, and I could boost posts or whatever and get seen nationally. And somebody might click onto that, but then if they're just seeing, like, say I post about the hampers a couple of times a week, the rest of the content is all going to be local delivery this, come into our shop, buy that, and so on. And I'm just worried that I'm gonna lose the interest of people that just want that aspect of the business. Mm-hmm. And then moving past that, my long-term goal, my other revenue stream is going to be franchising my business model, which is a whole different audience, and I've got time to think about that. But I'm going to then have to, I don't think advertising or looking for people on my current page is the right place. So yeah, that's a very long backstory to basically the question of, if I've got a local cafe that needs to advertise to local people, and then I've got this national aspect now, do I keep that under the same page? I have got a good following locally. I've got a decent amount of organic followers and likes, and there's also all my reviews and recommendations on there. But I worry that I'm then not going to be, I'm going to be trying to speak into two different audiences. Mm-hmm. And then I might lose. I don't think my local customers will mind seeing the posts about the hampers, because they might be a hamper customer, because they could buy a hamper even if they live next door to me and send it like to the other end of the country. It's more the other way around. It's more, the hamper customers aren't going to want to see my fresh sausage rolls.
So I personally think one brand needs to definitely stay a solid brand. I don't think you want to split it down into multiple brands, because that becomes quite difficult. Rebecca's saying, yeah, keep it under one. People want the journey. Yeah, I would agree.
It would definitely be under the same brand, because I put a lot of thought and effort into it, and it's staying. So my company name is Origin Fine Foods. So we're all about provenance. We're all about teaching people to think about where the food is from. We're quite eco-friendly, and everything that we did sell before Corona in the shop is all Yorkshire based. So the hampers are going to be purely Yorkshire based hampers, and that, I'll probably, the majority of my hamper customers are probably going to be people from Yorkshire still, because they're proud to be from Yorkshire and they want to share that little bit of Yorkshire with their auntie who lives down somewhere else.
So my question would be to you is, who is going to be buying the hampers? And if you're saying that those people are going to probably still be Yorkshire people, but they're going to be buying them for family who are further afield, the Yorkshire story is still really important.
Yeah.
What's they saying? Think Coca-Cola. Diet Coke people are totally different to real Coke people. Yeah, same brand, different audiences. That is true. Don't forget, was advertising. Yeah, so that was the thing I was going to come on to. Thank you, Rebecca. Is if you think about when you're building audiences for adverts, you can build your audiences very differently. So even though somebody might still click through to your business and look at the whole business, but they're already interested. And if you build the hamper, and again, I would say be careful about selling them to everyone. So actually you want a really, really targeted campaign where you say something like, don't you wish you could give all of your family a piece of Yorkshire? and you literally just target the people in Yorkshire to send these baskets to their family. Because if you're turning on an ad for the whole country, it's going to be very hard to get people to actually buy into that. But if you're turning on an ad just for Yorkshire, that will be quite easy to write an ad that really speaks to it. And actually, when you start to do nationwide ads, is for special occasions. So you do it for Mother's Day or for like Christmas. And that's how you start to sort of grow the brand. But I definitely think that one brand is really, really important.
I think if you are keeping it as one brand as well, you are kind of allowing the platform there to encourage repeat buyers, because they get to journey with you. They get to see, you know, last week I ordered, you know, sausage rolls. Oh, look, she's baked more. Yay, those look delicious. I tried them last week. You guys have to try them too. I think it opens up the door for a better audience and a better interaction between your audience as well. And like Jackie said, social media is kind of my only strong point. Everything else in this course is, you know, I'm not
Go for it, Rebecca. Yeah.
But when you start to specifically target and put money behind your groups, you can, Facebook, Instagram, all those platforms allow you, even, you know, Google Ads, to target very, very specific people.
Yeah.
Down to their hobbies, down to what magazines they read, down to their street name. So there you can be more specific, and then Google will let certain people see certain information, and certain people who it's not relevant for, they won't see that information. So you don't necessarily need to be in control of that. Your marketing platform will kind of do that for you. But I think keeping them together, you will allow both branches, you'll allow a foot in the door for both different audience types, which I think is important.
Absolutely. And also, my next question would be to you, Jenny. Do you have a mailing system? Not yet? So what I would say to you is, as we start to get further into the course and we start to look at the mailing systems, you could build a mailing system that when somebody buys a hamper, they get a completely different chain of emails. So actually, you could then send those people emails about the hampers and the wider reach. Whereas if somebody, say, for instance, signed up for a loyalty card in the shop, you might email them once a week to tell them what the specials are. But you wouldn't do that for the hamper guys because they're not local and they're not going to come and buy from you. So you can use your mailing system to tag people to send out different emailers as you kind of get further on, and that's also another way to sort of split down those audiences.
And another cool idea is if you do a marketing campaign where you encourage people to check in on Facebook, and then what that allows you to do is when you post an advert on Facebook, you can target those people who have actually checked in at your business. So that's targeting specific people who've visited the shop and who want to be at the shop, and they get to re-see, you know, what you're currently doing.
I didn't know that.
There is loads of stuff to come, don't you worry.
I would say, Jenny, as well, I'm not from, I used to live in Yorkshire for a while, I'm not from Yorkshire, but I saw you standing in the shop with your lovely apron on, doing your live, and I thought, I want to get people hampers for Christmas, just because it was you just being lovely in your shop, just standing with all that loveliness behind you, all the lovely packets, and I like, oh, I want to come in your shop. So I think that you being in the shop, in the physical, with all those physical things behind you was just lovely. So
yeah.
That was you that I would be buying from, was you in your lovely shop.
I only started doing lives on Facebook a few months ago, and I did them sort of weekly for a while, and then since when Corona hit, we've been doing, myself and my business partner have been doing like 100 hours a week, quite physical work, so we're just exhausted. And I think it will probably have been after I had to do a live for something else, and I just thought I just need to get back into it and started doing it. And when I do the lives in the shop and people see me and they see me in the shop, and they can see I'm fairly confident that, like, when I'm doing my photographs, I think I can see how it needs to be done for, like, to go onto Facebook and things. If I'm taking a photograph of something, I always make sure I've got, like, all my shelving in the background, and even if it's blurred out slightly, the brands that are there are so recognizable as brands in their own right, that even, like, when you've got the focus on the forefront and the background's blurred out, you can still see those brands and you still know what they are, even if you can't read them clearly. So I'm quite confident with that side of things, but it is more just trying to, I think I've just got so stuck in my little box of my audiences within 3 miles of here.
But the thing is actually, if that's who you're comfortable with, start with them. So do an advert to those same people that you normally target, but say to them, wouldn't you love to send a piece of Yorkshire to whoever it is? And,
I got an email today. So although we haven't actually advertised these anywhere, I've sort of mentioned them as, like, I took some promo shots myself of the ambient one that I can send. And despite the fact that there was, like, no sort of pricing or details or anything, it was sort of like a sneak peek. I had an email today of somebody saying, can you send this to East Yorkshire? So that's my first inquiry. So now I just need to actually finish and put it together as a package. And tomorrow I'm hopefully sending a load out to my family that is sort of, like, up and down the country, just to get some feedback on how it's arrived. And then also they can give me some feedback on social media if they are on social media, which most of them aren't. But yeah, I've got plans in motion, but it was more just knowing how to separate it out. I just didn't want loads of people from, like, all over the country to start following my page because they've seen a sponsored advert that's targeted them, and then for them to just become disengaged because nothing else is relevant.
And the thing is,
in regards,
if you think about with, like, the hamper stuff, if you are just posting something, say, once a week about the hampers and where they're ending up, and if people are taking pictures and tagging you guys in them, that's amazing. And you might even want to think about including a little like discount code for the next hamper that you purchase if you tag you on Facebook with the hamper arriving.
Yeah, I like that.
Something quite clever to get people to want to do it, because if you give people 10% off their next hamper or something like that, or whatever's kind of viable for the business, you could get a lot of sort of media coverage quite quickly. And then after you've done that for a while, you can stop doing it because it can just be a promo for a while. Liz, jump in.
Can I just say, Jenny, I follow a boutique in Ireland. I'm never going to probably walk into that boutique, but I love the clothes that they do. I love how she puts them on Facebook. I can order if I was brave enough, because I can never work out my sizes, so it's just like I just put on joggers. But I don't have to. All the stuff that she's doing, I don't have to be able to walk into that shop to enjoy it. There are other places in the Lake District, which is one of my favourite places to go. The Dales is another place. Dartmouth. I know where these places are. I can't walk into their bloody shop, but I will order the clotted cream every single time. I will order the clotted cream and it will be delivered. So I think, thinking about the fact that they'll be bored, I don't agree. If you're going to do cooking and make some sausage rolls, I will watch your live every time. Every time.
That's really good feedback, because I don't really use social media personally. I didn't have any social media until my last business, and even then I actually just shared my partner's personal profile for a while. So I then find it difficult to really sort of see it from the customer's perspective, because I don't use social media for enjoyment. I've got like 20 friends on my profile that are all family, that it's more just for communication. My mum lives 5,000 miles away, and that's why I set up Facebook in the first place. So I don't really follow any other businesses, so to hear feedback like that is really useful.
The thing is,
I think it's also important.
A lot of stuff though that I think, again, going back to what I was saying before, is that working out where your people are sitting. I have the job that I had before coming into solo business was really stressful, and everyone was in my face all the time. You know, I had a massive team that I was working with and leading, and the, you know, reports and this, that and the other, to have some escapism. So I will, if you looked at my TV, you'd be horrified probably, because it's got things like the sheepdog trials, it's got things like crofting, it's probably got things like following the young farmers, and because it's all that sort of outdoors health escapism stuff. And if I can hook onto the Great British Bake Off, where I can just absorb, or the sewing bee, or something where someone's creating stuff, I will be lost in it for hours. So, you know, to have someone actually sort of coming from somewhere where I can't get to, but creating stuff and making stuff work and all the rest of it, to me is fascinating.
I agree with Liz. I think some errors that people tend to make is they'll look at social media as a platform to advertise. They'll look at it as a sales pitch, where that's not why people are coming to the specific platforms. They you know, we currently now have so much information shoved in our face, and people trying to sell us, you know, everything in every shape and form. When you go onto Instagram or you go onto Facebook, you don't want to be sold something. So don't look at it as a place to sell your business. Look at it as a place that people, like Liz said, in escapism. You know, they want to be able to see something. They want to be able to, you know, look and experience something else and be in something else. So don't look at it as a way to sell, you know, what it is that you're doing. Because if you're targeting it or looking at it that way, it won't be successful, because people don't want to engage with a sales pitch.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've turned that around a lot recently. That's only something that I've really recently understood. And although I wasn't really ramming stuff down people's throat, I didn't post very often, but when it was like, this is what I've got to buy. It wasn't really very much like pressure selling, but it was like, do you like this? Would you like to buy it? And now I've gone very much more into sharing stories, sharing content, sharing recipes, sharing me, and actually going back to Zoe's question of whether to be the name of the brand and things. When we first, with my last business and with this business, I've always had that long-term goal in my mind of, I want to scale it to the point where I've got other people running teams and things. And so that's why neither of the businesses that I've run or are running have got my name in it, because I want to step back. And that's another long-term worry of mine, is I've become such an intrinsic part of the business. As Jackie knows from the call that we had, I need to have the processes and strategies in place to step away so that somebody else is there. But I know that if I stepped away from this business now, this physical bricks and mortar business, it would have a massive negative effect. Like if I just plonked a manager in right now, and we did this with our last business, like myself and Abby worked ridiculous hours. We did all this sort of like face-to-face things with customers. And we couldn't take any time off, because the second we took a week off, we had certain customers, and I knew which ones it was, that would suddenly complain because something wasn't done the way, because when it's our babies, we sort of like go above and beyond. And that's why I don't want to have I don't want to own multiple businesses with managers in place, because they're not invested. They get paid whether they turn up and do a good job, or paid and turn up and do the bare minimum. That's why I want to franchise, because they've got you know, skin in the game. It's their benefit if they make more money. If the business does better, they make more money.
Yeah.
But also from my point of view, if their business does better, I also make more money. So that's my incentive to be turning up and being present and supporting them. But I worked very hard at not being part of my brand. But now, even though my name's not there at the moment, myself and Abby are a massive part of the business, and I'm going to have to start weaning my customers off of us.
The thing is that if you look at, do you guys, well, Rebecca, you might not know Bill's Restaurant, but you guys know Bill's Restaurant in the UK. Okay, so Bill's is in pretty much every single major city, in even some of the small cities in the UK. They've got loads of restaurants, and actually Bill's was founded by a guy named Bill. He started a tiny restaurant that was literally a cafe, grew to have a bar, grew to have produce, grew to have all of these different things. And he then franchised it and started to sell it to other people. And he considered changing the name. So I used to work for him, and I helped him open some of his restaurants back in the day. And when he started to scale that, he considered whether they change the name, because it being called Bill's when Bill isn't physically there obviously is a bit weird. But actually what the kind of end goal was, that the sort of plan that was came up with, was that every single restaurant would have like a piece of him in it. So he always did the setup, regardless of what restaurant it was, regardless of if he was going to have anything to do with it or not. He always did the setup of the restaurant. He always shared the values of what the Bill's brand was all about. And that's the thing with any brand that you want to franchise, is you've got to build a really strong value core of what the business is. And that can be your value core. That's allowed. Like, that's absolutely allowed. But you have to be able to distill that value core down into something that is somebody else can pick up and actually do. And you have to look at how you pick the people that you give that franchise to. Because if you pick the right people, your value set will naturally reoccur. And that is something that's really, really interesting. And actually, I had an interesting thing happen today. Liz knows about this already. She was watching my live. But I had an interesting thing happen today. I got, bearing in mind, I've only been on Instagram for like 3 months. I had a company, an American company, contact me because they want me to be a brand ambassador for their sunglasses brand. And I was like, oh, well, this is interesting. And they said, oh, you know, your content and your posts and your pictures, like, it just looks amazing. Like, this is what we are like, we want. And it was really funny because I'm assuming that most people just go, yeah, that's amazing, and just like get really excited. I went back and I was like, can you tell me if your products are sustainable? Can you tell me where they're made? Can you tell me who makes them? Can you tell me where you source your material? Can you tell me how you post them? Because I don't want to put my name against something that's not sustainable, because a huge part of my brand is the fact that I care about the environment. So if I'm rocking out with sunglasses that are made by, you know, 5-year-old kids, that's suddenly not going to look so good. And the girl was really taken aback that I was talking to. She was like, oh yeah, I can source that for you. And I was like, well, yeah, please do. But actually, this is the kind of key thing, is that, you know, you've got to be really, really clear on what your brand and your values are, so that when you step out and you start letting people into that, you only hire managers that would live that brand. You only hire, and that's for any of your guys' businesses. You know,
it's where I started, to be fair, Jackie. It's exactly what I started with, is because my biggest thing is, even when I'm working with clients, is sussing out, because people don't think about what their values are, personal values, let alone any other values. And they're sometimes the most difficult things to get to, because they're not, oh, well, I want to be transparent and reliable. bullshit. You should actually be a human being. Do you know what I mean? But I think that's one of the things that I worked on solidly. And I'm thinking in order to progress and scale my business and do what I want to do with the Guru Co, I want to train those people. And I was just thinking, listening to Jenny, it's almost like that could be part of the franchise. You come and you work with me. You do not get my business. Because it's that, isn't it? If people want something that's ready-made, that's been worked out and successful, actually being your apprentice is a necessity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've only just started working on the value ladders today. As some of you will see, and I did my avatars this morning.
They were amazing.
Thank you. But I'm having, like I said right at the start of this, I've got 3 completely different audiences. I've got my deli customers, I've got my hamper customers, and then I'm going to have I'm seeing my franchisees as a customer, really. And at the end of the day, I'm asking them to invest a lot of money in me. And I know that everything that I'm doing now, I'm trying to sort of like keep them all separate. And when I was looking at the value ladder, I was looking at what I need to give to be able to get that person to that level. And I know that I'm going to have my content, starting from the other end, at the end of the day, what I want from it, what they'll get is a full support package long term. And obviously in return, I get the royalties and sort of a percentage. Bye, Rebecca. But coming back from that, there's going to be some sort of course that is going to be included in the setup whilst the building and the equipment and all of the stocks getting sourced. There's going to be some sort of program that includes sort of marketing and sort of brand awareness and all of that. But even before that, I could have something where, I can have my freebie and I can have like something smaller where it's sort of, my freebie is the 3 things that I discovered about being my own boss or whatever. And then as a middle package, there can be something that I can teach part of the bigger package. I can do a smaller version. So if they want to just do that and then set up their own place, and that's an option for them, but hopefully they'll see that actually what I'm teaching them is so valuable and that they'll want my support. So yeah, what I've learned today, I hadn't done an avatar for my franchisee, and what I've discovered today is that actually what I'm looking for is somebody that's probably not been self-employed before, that's sort of ready to sort of make that leap, but wants that support in place. And that's where I can then say, well, I can do this, this and this for you. But yeah, I learned loads from the avatar. I know I'm like a week and a half sort of like behind, but I've done that ideal customer thing so many times, and it's the first time that I've actually like named someone and actually looked really deep into like their hobbies. So it's actually really made a difference just in the few hours since I did that exercise. I've thought differently. So thank you.
Makes me so happy. Okay, ladies, we're going to have to go. I think I'm going to put these in for an hour and a half going forward, because I don't think an hour is quite enough. And it's been so lovely spending time with you guys. If you do have any more questions, post them in the Facebook group. I will absolutely come over and answer them there. Feel free to tag me when you post them, because sometimes it doesn't tell me that you've posted in there. So I'd like to try not miss anything. So tag me when you post in there. That'll be great. And I will have all of your next week's content up on Monday. Very exciting.
But just found this week's.
Don't worry, you've got a couple of days yet.
Yes.
All good.
What's the date tomorrow? Friday. Yes.
Friday. Exactly. You've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
gets rid of my perfectionism, doesn't it? Just like crack on. You've got
yeah.
time.
Well, the thing is as you're going through this, I mean, I have suffered as being a perfectionist for quite a while, and I've really had to step out of that in the last while to actually get things done. And what I'm finding more and more is that people don't care. Like, actually, people would rather I turned up and gave them the help than I was completely polished and, you know, everything was perfect. And it's quite funny because, like, even now I do still obviously try, like, I moved to a new place in the house, so I've got plain walls rather than, you know, mayhem upstairs, and I do try still to have some balance of normality. I Zoom called somebody earlier. They were helping me build an advert, and I got on the Zoom call and only halfway through realized that I had a whole thing of washing hanging behind me with my underwear hanging out. I was like, well, I'm just gonna move that.
Oh God!
Your big pants, your best.
Oh, yeah, they would be mine.
I'm sorry to say that none of my pants are big pants.
Jackie, it'll bloody come, I'm telling you.
I'm sure it will, and I do kind of wish that it would come sooner, because that would have been a better sight than what was hanging back there. But this is the thing, and actually, like, you know, the person that was on the call didn't care at all. You know, we had an amazing meeting. It was really great, and it's what it's all about. Like, just showing up is sometimes better than getting it 100% right. And I can guarantee you one day I'll be writing that story in a book. I can guarantee it. I'm going to save a picture of the ad. It's going in the newspaper. So, actually, Zoe, I'll let you know. It's going to be in the Metro. When it comes out, you best go get one.
Will, fantastic.
The rest of you
too far away. Training as well, because I've decided I've got to make my things look nicer and brandier. So I've downloaded Canva and some training, some online training.
I'm going to do a video next week. Well, I've done a video, but it's going to come to you next week on the basics of Canva and how I set up my Instagram posts in the quickest possible way. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that.
Playing with the professional for the proper one, paid one.
Don't bother. Yeah, don't bother. The difference between Canva Pro and normal Canva is so minimal.
Okay.
Unless you want to take loads of pictures and remove the backgrounds.
Well, I could do that on the 30-day free trial.
Exactly. So there's there's not much reason to. Okay. I mean, up until now, everything, Liz, everything you've seen on my Instagram and my Facebook and my LinkedIn is all of the free version.
Is it? Okay. I was going to ask, can I just quickly ask you, I know you want to go. Sorry, everybody. You know when you do your blogs?
Yeah.
How do you get them to look that professional? What are you using?
Which ones? The ones on LinkedIn or the actual ones?
No,
the ones on Facebook that you can link to my website, Squarespace.
Okay.
What cover is it on your Squarespace? Because I've been looking, because you recommended Squarespace, so I've been like, ooh.
Oh, I love Squarespace. The thing is, it depends on how much, like Squarespace, the first bit of setup is a little bit painful, like setting your fonts and your like colors and all of that. That's a little bit painful. But once you've got all of that done, actually building pages is not that bad. Right. Sometimes things really don't want to work and you want to punch it, but that's normal for any technology, so that's fine. But if you want somebody to do it for you, and you just want it to be like really easy and you just want to pay somebody to build you a couple of pages, then again, like I can recommend people to do that. Like that's easy enough. But with me, because I blog and I write a blog twice a week, I wanted something that was really easy for me to just update myself, which is why I went with Squarespace. If your website is going to be more more sort of static and you're not going to be doing something like a blog, then you could just get somebody to create 5 static pages for you that always look the same. But I am actually stepping out now, and I've actually bought ClickFunnels, the official funnel building website. So that is going to be an interesting learning journey, and I'll let you know.
What made you decide on ClickFunnels? I've got all these questions now.
What made me decide on ClickFunnels? So I joined a freebie, as you do, along the lines of what I'm doing, and it's for a marketing company in Florida. Really, really amazing guy, has built loads of $1 million funnels, has got an amazing team of copywriters, tech guys, etc., etc., etc. And I basically went through the freebie, did a couple of extra things, and because of that got offered a really, really low price package to build for them to actually physically build my funnel for me and teach me how they do it. So they have basically said to me that in the next 5 weeks, when I launch this program again, they will get me 50 people at a much higher rate than what you guys paid to be on the course.
Wow.
And they are...
No wonder you didn't bloody sleep.
Yeah, no, I never sleep anymore. It's amazing. But this is the thing. So, like, they've gone through... So they actually physically build all the ClickFunnels stuff to get you up and running quickly, but then they do a 16-week training program on like how to actually build them. So once I know, obviously I'll let you guys know, which is always good. But it's a really, really interesting thing because I've been toying with the idea of buying the actual. So the best thing about the ClickFunnel, and this is something we'll look at a little bit later on, is taking each piece of your offer and basically like bulking it out. So what you'll see when you buy people's freebies, especially if they're using ClickFunnels, is, say for instance, they'll say, you know, hey, you can buy this program, and then what they'll do is they'll do an immediate upsell. So actually you've clicked through and you're going to buy the program. So for instance, going forward, my program is going to be £900. So you've said you're going to buy a £900 program. And then as you get through to the page, there's a little bar that says, oh, but actually, do you want a 2-hour one-to-one coaching for an extra £150? That's a discount of this amount. And then so it basically gives you the ability to do like upsells, downsells, back end. So once people finish the process, and then also like bolt-ons. So what is going to happen, and this is quite exciting, I'm changing the model slightly of the program, is once people finish this journey, I'm then going to open up a membership site. So people will be able to join a membership site at a low cost every month to get continued support.
Yeah,
and what I'm going to...
I want to go now, actually, having looked at all the different stuff, and I joined the tribe thing, and I was thinking, yeah, it meets my values, the things I wanted, financial stability, freedom and time, and being authentically me. So I was kind of thinking I could just shop for people like that in that way, and have a membership program is probably going to meet my values much more than actually loads of one-to-one coaching.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Exactly where I want to go. I want to have my membership site, so those people who've been through the process then go in there, because I don't want them to read. We spoke about this right from the start, didn't we, Jackie? I don't want them to think that they've got to go through a 1,000,001 times a coaching practice, or come in and say I want more one-to-one, or so. This is about a forever change, a lasting forever change, where actually every now and again you might go into the group and sort of have a chat with someone, and you know, just keep people going and keep everyone sort of facing the right way and in tip-top condition.
Yeah. And so with ClickFunnels, what it gives you is I will be able to say, here's my program. Hey, do you want to buy a one-to-one coaching thing? Hey, do you want to sign up for the membership now and get a discount? And actually what happens is by the time that person finishes their sale, they might have spent, you know, £1,500 when actually they came in and they were originally going to spend 900.
It's like the sweets at the till, isn't it?
It's exactly how they describe it. It's like the sweet.
Okay.
Yeah, it's exactly how they describe it. And actually, this is the thing. So I was thinking, like, obviously I've done a lot of this for businesses, a lot of the sort of strategy stuff. But normally I just hand off that stuff to somebody else and just go, this is all the ideas, go and make it happen. But actually now I want to start building a team of people who actually do that internally in my business.
The technology scares me. That's why I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'm right with you, Zoe, but that's why I've attached myself heavily with Jackie. I've got a bit worried and a bit upset with my other coach person, so that's why I'm attaching myself to Jackie. And you know, and I need those extra things because it's not second nature. I don't think it's intuitive. It's becoming more intuitive, but it's that nervous thing about, I don't understand that language. What does that bloody well mean? Someone take my finger and put it on that button.
That's what I need. Yeah.
Button, and then I'm fine.
I don't want to bother my mailing list with stuff. So I don't want to keep hearing from me.
The thing is that as we start going through, and this is what I started to realize really sort of heavily as I was going through this kind of process of designing this, and once I got you guys all in, I thought, oh, actually, I can see, you know, I want there to be a continued support, but I want you guys to learn everything you need to learn up front.
Yeah.
And then actually that continued support becomes more of that mindset hurdle, because there is a massive mindset to running a business. But actually sometimes until you know all of the knowledge, it's hard to get into the mindset.
Oh, completely agree. Completely agree.
People need to learn.
It felt too difficult. And it was really nice coming into the group and seeing that everybody else is finding it difficult too. But it's doable.
But the thing is that is, you know, that's the person that I'm trying to attract into this course. You know, I'm not trying to attract the person who's got a business that's running and, you know, doing well and, you know, they have it all sorted. I'm trying to attract the people who have got a, you know, a passion, an idea, a drive. They want to learn. They, you know, they're not going to come in and go, oh no, I'm not doing that. They want to do it, but they don't know how. Yeah. And there's that kind of, you know, that underlying fear of just not knowing exactly what to do. And it's about doing all of those things. And as you guys go, I mean, as we go more and more into the course, I will start saying to you guys, so even like next week, I'm going to say to you, if you do want to do TikTok, here's a free person to go and watch. If you do want to do Pinterest, here's a free person. Because I'm not an expert in everything. That's not what I'm trying to be. But what I can do is connect you to the people who are the right people for you to be looking at.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what's really, really important as you know, as you kind of go on this journey, but also understanding, like for me, obviously being dyslexic, writing copy is painful. I have to put so much energy into it that it literally makes me want to cry. I finish and I'm like, I'm exhausted. And actually, why not hire somebody to do that for me?
I love that bit.
Yeah. But this is the thing, everyone has their thing and their element that will be so easy for them. Like if you look at Rebecca today, Rebecca was saying, you know, the social media stuff I absolutely love. I'm so good at it. I help people with this. But everything else, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And it's going to be like that throughout the whole program. Some of you will absolutely just get different elements and others will be like, oh, and then it'll be at the flip side as we go. But it is about kind of going on that journey and sort of thinking about, you know, what it is. Your front cover of your book needs to be. I don't know if my husband will be very pleased if I put my pants on the front cover of a book.
It's on, it's fine.
I think it'd be great. One of the women I follow, Bex Brand, her book was called The Pants of Perspective.
Oh, I love that. I need to go look at that book. That sounds like good fun. Oh my god.
It's a woman called Bex Brand. She created the Love Her Wild community.
My daughter's the admin. My daughter's the admin for her.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh cool, I love her stuff.
Yeah.
To be fair, actually earlier on, so Liz was telling me about her daughters earlier on. And she was explaining what one of her daughters does, and I instantly thought of you, Zoe. And I thought, oh, those two need to talk, because it's the whole like adventure, woman adventure.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, that's interesting. But ladies, I'm going to have to go.
The other month, she went off with Bex and did Snowdon and what have you, left the kids behind. And just, because Bex is preggers, isn't she? She's
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, ladies, it has been lovely to see you all. Thank you so much for joining me. We will be doing training again on Tuesday.
Lovely.
It will be all things social media.
I've got 30 more followers on Instagram. I just got a notification. You've got 30 new followers. Thank you.
I was one of them.
So yeah, I've got 29 people I don't know.
That is amazing.
Stick your thingy on the group and we'll follow.
Yeah, put your handles on the group, definitely. That is going to be one of the tasks for next week, so you'll be getting ahead.
Next week, Zoe. Got enough to do.
We're ahead.
Okay, ladies, it has been absolutely lovely to see you.
Bye, Jenny.
Bye-bye.
Bye.